the atomic diagram. This is an electron, this is a proton, and this is a neutron, and that is the nucleus.
So what are simple molecules? Simple molecules are basically atoms joined together.
A simple molecule can be salt, which is sodium chloride made up of the elements sodium and chlorine.
So next is the extended structure, which can be honey, and it is carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen put into a double benzene ring. My example for a synthetic material will be vinegar. It is made up of the following elements: hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. To make vinegar, you would take acetic acid with bacteria, yeast, and other microorganisms, and you break it down through the process called fermentation to get vinegar. Thermal energy added, the temperature rises and it changes state into liquid. The atoms slide past each other. With thermal energy removed, it changes state into solid, which atoms stay close and vibrate. Burning marshmallow is a chemical reaction because it changes in temperature, color, and releases an odor. The equation shows the combustion of the gas methane. This reaction usually happens in the flame of stoves, and we can see 1 carbon atom, 4 hydrogen atoms, and 4 oxygen atoms are going in, which means 1 carbon atom, 4 hydrogen atoms, and 4 oxygen atoms are also going out. Burning marshmallow is a combustion reaction with the presence of fire and is an exothermic reaction since it is releasing heat. Newton's third law states that when an object exerts force on another, the other exerts the equal and opposite force back. In this case, when Zena and I ran into each other, I exerts force on her, and she exerts the equal and opposite force back on me, making both of us fall. Change in object's motion depends on the force exerted on it, object's mass, and remember, more mass equals more friction. Let's try pushing this hair tie. It contains less mass, which means there are less friction acting upon it, so then I don't need to use as much force to push it. Now let's push this heavy folder. It is really hard for me to push it since it contains more mass, meaning there are more friction acting upon it. Therefore, I need to use more force in order to push this folder. Newton's first law states that object at rest remain at rest. Object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon an unbalanced force. In this case, the water bottle is at rest. My finger touching it and making it roll is the unbalanced force. A high energy and loud wave is characterized by a high amplitude wave, while a low energy wave and quiet wave is characterized by a low amplitude wave. Waves can be reflected, absorbed, or transmitted. This shows a wave being reflected. The law of reflection states that the angle the wave goes in is also the angle that the wave goes out. This is an example of reflection since the light waves of the color black is being reflected. That's why we can see the color black from the chair. This shows a wave being absorbed. The chair is also an example of light waves being absorbed because all of the color light waves are being absorbed except for black. That's why we can see black and not the other color. And this shows a wave being transmitted. My glasses is an example of light waves being transmitted because the waves are going through the glasses. That's why when I wear it, I can see through it. Okay, so let's begin with electric force. There are three factors that affect electric force. To start with, it is voltage. The more volts a source has, the more the electricity. As we can see in the picture, there are two batteries, the 110 volt battery and the 6 volt battery. So as we've said, the 110 volt battery would give out more electricity because it has more volt compared to the 6 volt battery. The next factor will be the quality of the conductor. A conductor is a wire, or also called the connector, as seen in the circuit. A good conductor will be made out of copper and steel, while a bad conductor will be made out of plastic and cotton. The third factor is imbalance of charge, meaning the more the two charges are different, the more electricity is created. An example of this is lightning. Because of collision, particles separate into positive and negative charges. Then through contact, negative charges sink to the bottom of the clouds while positive moves to the ground. Static electricity is then discharged, making charges move to the ground. An example for a good conductor would be our phone charger. It is a good conductor because it can transfer electricity, while the plastic wrapping outside is the bad conductor. That's why it's wrapped so that it prevents you from electric shock. There are two factors that affect the magnetic force. The first one is distance between the magnets. When two magnets are further apart, even if the poles are opposite, it won't attract. When two magnets are closer, the magnet will attract. The second factor is the alignment of the magnetic domain. In a non-magnetic material, the magnetic domains are not aligned. Examples of these are rubber and pencil. While in a magnetic material, the magnetic domain are partially aligned in groups. Examples of these are paperclip and steel spoon. A magnet, on the other hand, its magnetic domain are all aligned. Examples of these are just simply magnets. Now, let's take a look at our last topic, circuits, a closed path that charge follows. In a circuit, there are four distinct parts that makes a circuit count as one: the voltage source, the conductor, the electrical device, and the switch. Now, this marks the end of Helen's physical science final project. And lastly, thank you, Mr. Tim, for making this our final project instead of a final exam.